Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In the list of 64 transcendental qualities of Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, given by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, number 15 is clever. And Rupa Goswami defines cleverness as being able to perform various type of works at once. And here he's not referring to multitasking, but more that just that it's not that you go from one thing to another, skip, but all at the same time you perform various functions. And he quotes, Rupa Goswami quotes one of the gopis speaking to another gopi, praising the clever activities of Lord Sri Krishna. He's composed nice songs about the cowherd boys and is pleasing the cows. By the movement of his eyes, he is pleasing the gopis, and at the same time he is fighting with demons like Arishtasura. In this way, he is sitting with different living entities in different ways, and he is thoroughly enjoying the situation. He's happy. Parachuted in from Mayapur. Surprise, surprise. Life is full of happy surprises, not just unhappy ones. Krishna is very clever. Now, we may think, well, I can just read this. I don't need to come to the class to hear. But it's nice to discuss, isn't it? Satang prasangan mama virya samvidaha. We read that verse. It's very pleasant to discuss in the society of devotees the wonderful activities of Lord Sri Krishna. Number 16 is expert, which is related with clever. We had a solution to the slamming door. Let's get back to the solution. Expert. A person who can execute a very difficult task is called expert, and particularly who can quickly do it. There's some company advertising that difficult things we do immediately, impossible takes a little longer. Some company, some advertisement, somewhere. But actually only Krishna can do that. Only Krishna can do things which are seemingly impossible. Actually they're impossible for other people. But he can do. I think for me it's an impossible task to get everyone to put their phone off, because however many times we request, someone's going to leave it on. About the expertise of Krishna, there is a statement in the 10th canto, 59th chapter, verse 17 of Srimad Bhagavatam. As Shukdev Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj, how Krishna cut to pieces all the different kinds of weapons used by different fighters. We hear about Krishna, his first fighting activity recorded outside of Vrindavan is when Jarasandha attacked. We think of the Battle of Kurukshetra as being a huge battle, but actually even the Jarasandha's army was even bigger than the two armies put together at Kurukshetra. And Krishna just came out and killed them all by himself. You may think, how is that possible? Because there's so many so many arrows raining down on Krishna from thousands of bowmen, but Krishna's able to counteract them all. With his arrows, he'd cut all the incoming arrows and kill not just the warriors on the other side, but also the horses, the elephants, and break the chariots and kill the chariot drivers. How can he do it? Might not seem physically possible to fire so many weapons at one time. That's Krishna. He can do whatever he likes. They have these superheroes in the imaginary heroes. It used to be Superman, and now there's all others. Imaginary heroes, but there's no need to imagine. We have the best of all heroes is Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada elaborates on this, that someone would fire an arrow which causes torrential rain to pour from the sky. You may think, well, how is that possible? Again, you do it. There are mantras to go with the arrows. And then what do? Then you have an umbrella arrow. Is it? No. Usually it's a mountain, isn't it? Oh, here, a mountain. There's in some parts of the Bhagavatam it's stated that the mountain, one arrow produces mountains to stop the force. And here Srila Prabhupada says that there's another kind of arrow, which turns the water back into clouds. And there are so many. Fire weapon with water weapon. Lord Shiva, his weapon, the Shiva Dwara, was counteracted by the very hot Shiva Dwara was counteracted by the Narayan Dwara, which is very cold. Another example of Krishna's expertise. At the rasa dance, so many gopis, they desired to dance with Krishna. Shatakoti gopi, hundreds and thousands of millions of gopis, they all wanted to dance individually with Krishna. There were the eternal gopis, and then there were others who had performed Caitanya-caritamrta in order to have Krishna as their husband. And Krishna promised, yes, I will fulfill your desire. And Krishna had in mind dancing at the rasa dance, but how can you satisfy so many women who all want individually to relate with Krishna, personally? And Krishna expands himself into many forms. Similarly, in Dwaraka, Narad was astonished to see Krishna in all his 16,108 palaces performing different activities in every palace. There may be yogis who can expand themselves into 9 forms, but each form is an exact facsimile of the original form. So they have to do the same thing, but Krishna does different things. And it's the same Krishna, because when he goes out into the public streets of Dwaraka, all the forms merge into one. So that there's another example of Krishna's expertise. He does everything perfectly. Descriptions of Krishna at the rasa dance, dancing with every gopi, that is encouraging for all of us, in as much as we want to have a personal relationship with Krishna, is it not? But already get in line. You can have your appointment with Krishna. You can have a 1-second darshan, and you're as many atoms as there are in the whole universe. That's your number. You have to wait in turn. But it's not like that. You can immediately contact Krishna, and just by chanting his holy name, Hare Krishna, and Krishna is dancing on our tongue. If we have to make our heart and tongue so pure that Krishna will like to dance on our tongue, and we can directly experience Krishna. So this is Krishna's expertise. He can and does expand himself into many forms to relate with so many devotees. Number 17, grateful. Here's the definition of grateful. Any person who is conscious of his friend's beneficent activities and never forgets his service is called grateful. Statement from Mahabharata that Draupadi, I was a long way away, and Draupadi cried out the words, "Hey Govinda!" And because of this, I am indebted to Draupadi, and this indebtedness is increasing in my heart. And Srila Prabhupada comments, this statement by Krishna gives evidence of how one can please the Supreme Lord simply by addressing him, "Hey Krishna, hey Govinda." So easy to please Krishna. The poor transcendentalists, they're in a better state than the materialists, but they undertake such difficult austerities to try to become free from the illusion of material existence and the bondage of material existence. And devotees just say, "Hey Krishna, hey Govinda." And they automatically become more than any great non-devotee yogi, because Krishna becomes grateful that someone is calling out my name, even if not with total pure love, but they're calling out to me personally. They're trying to reinstate their relationship with me. Elsewhere we find about Draupadi that once Krishna cut his finger. There's where's Gadadhar Pandit? Is he here? There. That's in Udupi. There's in the main temple. There's a picture of this, right? That Krishna has cut his finger, and Draupadi tears her sari and puts a little cloth as a impromptu band-aid. And then when Draupadi needs cloth, Krishna supplies unlimited cloth. A little service to Krishna, and Krishna feels so indebted. I can never repay the debt. And Srila Prabhupada comments in this regard in the Nectar Devotion. The Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is also simply an address to the Lord and his energy. So to anyone who is constantly engaged in addressing the Lord and his energy, we can imagine how much the Supreme Lord is obliged. It is impossible for the Lord to ever forget such a devotee. It is clearly stated in this verse that anyone who addresses the Lord immediately attracts the attention of the Lord, who always remains obliged to him. Krishna is not obliged to anyone. He has no debt to anyone. But he feels like that. He doesn't have to do anything for anyone. But he feels indebted to a devotee who simply calls out his name. Another instance of Krishna's feeling of obligation is in his dealings with Jambavan, who served Lord Ramachandra very faithfully, and later, when Krishna appeared, he fought with Krishna, satisfied Krishna like that, not knowing that this Krishna is my Lord Ram. He would have never fought with him if he had thought, this is my Lord Ram. But then when he became aware, it must be him, no one else can fight with me, 28 days non-stop, day and night. No, There's no one else in the whole universe who can fight with me for 28 seconds, let alone 28 days, day and night. And he thought, oh, must be Rama. Who else can it be? Then Jambavan, gave his daughter to Krishna, became Krishna's second wife. And then Krishna, because Jambavan is now his father-in-law, so Krishna offered him all respect as is suitable for superiors. So this is an example given that someone who has rendered a service to someone, the other person should feel obliged to that and feel grateful. And Srila Prabhupada comments, since Krishna is the supreme honest personality, how can he forget an obligation to his servitor? Number 18, determined. Any person who observes regulative principles and fulfills his promises by practical activity is called determined. And Srila Rupa Goswami gives an example as stated in Harivangsha, a Vedic literature which is considered a supplement to Mahabharata, in which there's particularly description of Krishna and his activities. And therein, among the many activities of Krishna, is stated about the fight between Krishna and Indra after Krishna took the Parijata tree, which grows on the heavenly planets. Satyabhama, who had accompanied Krishna to the heavenly planets, wanted that flower, and Krishna just took the whole tree, didn't ask. And Indra thought, who's this guy? You can't just walk into... Okay, he did something for me, but anyway, I'm Indra. And Krishna showed him, yeah, but I'm Krishna. There was a great fight, and Krishna defeated all of them. And Krishna said to Narad Muni in this regard, said that, see, all the demigods, it wasn't just Indra, all the demigods were lined up against me. But I told my queen, Satyabhama, said, I want the flower. So Krishna said, okay, I'll get it for you. And he said, well, what could I do? I told my wife I was going to do something for her, and even if all the demigods oppose me, I have to do it. Then quoted, Kaunteya pratijani hi name bhakta pranashyati. In Bhagavad-gita, Krishna promises that his devotee will never be vanquished. And Srila Prabhupada comments here, a sincere devotee who is always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord should know for certain that Krishna will never break his promise. He will always protect his devotees in every circumstance. So that is one feature of our attitude in devotional service. Rakshishati Vishvaso, the faith that Krishna will protect us. So, giving the Parijata flower, and actually a whole tree, to Satyabhama, saving Draupadi from being insulted, and another example, freeing Arjuna from the attacks of all his enemies. Krishna told Arjuna, my devotee will never be vanquished. And we already had in this series of qualities that Krishna is truthful. So One example of his truthfulness is given that he told Kunti that at the end of this battle that was upcoming at Kurukshetra, all your sons will return. And he fulfilled that. When Arjuna was fighting, so many weapons were being hurled at him all the time. So when the battle was over, Krishna told Arjuna to get down from the chariot. And Krishna got down, and then the whole chariot burned. Arjuna wondered what was going on. And Krishna said that so many arrows were fired for destroying your chariot, but I was counteracting the effect of those arrows. Now let them have their effect. And the whole chariot burned down. So Krishna was protecting. So this is an example here these are examples of Krishna's protection. Again, it follows on from the previous quality of gratefulness, in which Krishna protects his devotee. He's determined to do so by any means, whatever. A great example is Krishna. He's determined to fulfill his promise to protect his devotees, and that became a dilemma. Bhishma Dev, he deliberately put Krishna into a dilemma by saying that I will fight so powerfully against Arjuna that either I will kill Krishna, and Krishna already promised Arjuna that Arjuna wouldn't be vanquished because Krishna is protecting him, or Krishna will have to break his promise to not engage in the battle with any weapon. So Krishna, he decided, I have to protect Actually, he didn't decide, he was just spontaneous. And in one sense, he didn't pick up a weapon because a chariot wheel is not usually considered a weapon. So, just within the bounds of possibility there. Indra also admitted when he was defeated in the Govardhan Lila. Krishna deliberately agitated Indra and made him angry, and therefore Indra wanted to completely drown the whole of Vrindavan, but Krishna protected all the living beings of Vrindavan by lifting Govardhan Hill, just like an umbrella. And therefore Indra later admitted, yep, you did it again. You kept your promise to protect your devotees. So Krishna is determined, and the examples given here of how he's determined to fulfill his promise to protect his devotees. Quality 19, Krishna is an expert judge of time and circumstances. Krishna is very expert in dealings, how to deal with people according to the circumstances. Expert judge of time and circumstances. According to the particular situation, the place, the time, and paraphernalia. An example is given. Uddhava says to Krishna about the rasa dance that this is the best time is the full moon night in autumn, Kartik. The best place in the universe is Vrindavan, and the most beautiful girls in the universe are the gopis, or Krishna saying to Uddhava. So, I think it's a good time to have a Rasa Lila. And of course, Krishna is the necessary person who can perform that dance. So, taking advantage of the opportunity, Krishna performed dance with the gopis. And on other occasions he may do also. He was dancing nicely on the heads of Kaliya, as very expert kind of dancing, because all the heads are bobbing up and down and different heads are coming from at different angles to attack, and then Krishna's jumping from one head to another. He was really enjoying himself, and he thought, hey, this is a lot of fun. We're going to call the gopis also. So they had a Ras Leela on the heads of Kaliya. He took advantage of the opportunity. Number 20, seer by the authority of scriptures, Shastra Chakshu. A person who acts exactly according to the tenets of scripture is called Shastra Chakshus. Shastra Chakshus means one who sees through the eyes of the authorized scriptures. As Srila Prabhupada states it twice, emphasizing the point and saying that any man of knowledge and experience should see everything through these books, the scriptures. And Srila Prabhupada gives an example why. That with our naked eye we see the sun globe, simply as some glaring substance. But when we see through authorized books of science and other literature, we can understand how much greater the sun globe is than this earth and how powerful it is. So seeing things through the naked eye is not actually seeing. Seeing through the authorized books or the authorized teachers is the correct way to see. So, although Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and can and does see everything past, present and future, Vedahang savatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani chabhutani, Krishna sees everything past, present and future. To teach the people in general, he always referred to the scriptures. And the example is given in Bhagavad-gita that although Krishna himself is the authority to speak, whatever he says is Shastra. Yasvayam padmanabhasya mukha padma vinisritat. The Bhagavad-gita is directly emanating from the lips of Krishna. So that in itself makes it the supreme authority. But Krishna still, within the Bhagavad-gita, he quotes Vedanta Sutra as authorities. Rishubhir Bahuda Gitam Chandobhir Vividhai Pritak. Brahma Sutra Padais Chaiva Hetu Madbhir Vinishchitai. Krishna quotes the previous rishis and the hymns of the Vedas, Vedanta Sutra. These are all the authorities on which Krishna was about to discuss the difficult topic of Kshetra Jnana. And within Bhagavad-gita we find it's so many verses. They iterate verses found in Upanishads, in Sankhya philosophy. Krishna brings together all the knowledge and philosophy of the Vedas in Bhagavad-gita. And here, in Nectar Devotion, we find a quote from Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm not sure what that quote is, but Krishna is known as the enemy of Kamsa. He sees through the Shastras, but in order to establish his authority, he is now engaged in seeing the gopis. He sees through the eye of Shastra, and he sees the gopis, and by seeing them, they become maddened. Krishna is pure, quality 21, pure. And here in the Nectar Devotion, Srila Prabhupada says there are two kinds of supreme purity. When one type is possessed, one is able to deliver a sinful person. When the other type is possessed, one does not do anything which is impure. So there's avoidance of impurity, and there's the kind of spiritual purity whereby such a spiritually pure person can deliver a sinful, impure person from their impure and sinful position. And a person who possesses either of these qualities is called supremely pure. But Krishna is both. He can deliver all sinful conditioned souls, and at the same time, he never does anything by which he can be contaminated. Of course, Krishna is never contaminated. We hear about him passing stool and urine as a child. He goes to the houses, other people's houses, and the women in the morning, they put mixture of cow dung and mud and water on the floor, make it all pure. And Krishna comes in and poops all over the floor. So that's impure, isn't it? Well, babies are always impure. They're considered always impure because they're always, they just poop and let go their urine, and they what's that called? They slava, and the lala. What's that called? Saliva comes from their mouth, and so they're always in a state of impurity. But then Krishna is always pure. He's never impure in any way. By remembering him, we become pure. Simply by remembering him. Yasmared pundarikaksha sabhaya bhyantara shuchihi. By remembering him, one becomes pure. In this regard, there's a statement from Vidura, who was trying to deliver his elder brother, Dhritarashtra, from his strong family attachment. He told him, "My dear brother, fix your mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, who is worshipped with beautiful erudite verses by great sages and saintly persons. Krishna is the supreme deliverer among all deliverers. Undoubtedly there are great demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, but their positions as deliverers depend always upon the mercy of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme pure, and others can deliver the purity of Krishna. They can be representatives of Krishna." We sing in the morning that Sangsara dava nalalidha loka Caitanya-caritamrta ghana ghanatvam praptasya kalyana gunarnavasya vande guroshi charnarvanda. The mercy of the Guru is like the mercy taken from the source. The source is the ocean. That becomes clouds. The clouds rain down torrential rain which can extinguish the forest fire of material existence. But the source of that water is the ocean. So Krishna is the ocean of all auspiciousness. And others can be conduits by which that mercy and purity is delivered. And Srila Prabhupada comments here, again emphasizing the holy name, giving another example, that by chanting of the holy name of Krishna, the holy name will arise within one's heart like the powerful sun and immediately dissipate all the darkness of ignorance. And by remembering Krishna, thinking always of Krishna, Vidura advised Dhritarashtra, so many sinful activities, huge contamination of sinful activities, washed away simply by remembering Krishna. And in Bhagavad-gita, Parang Brahma, Parang Dhamma, Srila Prabhupada gives the example. You are the supreme Brahman, the supreme abode, the Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. You are the supreme pure, Arjuna tells Krishna. And there are so many other examples. These just some examples being given. Number 22, self-controlled. In Bhagavad-gita, Krishna speaks about the self-controlled person who controls his senses. So Krishna himself is self-controlled. But how can you be self-controlled when you have 16,000 plus wives? Don't seem to be very self-controlled. But more than once in Bhagavatam it's stated that all of the wives of Krishna were so beautiful and charming that they could captivate the minds of anyone, any man in the world, even up to Lord Shiva, but they couldn't agitate the mind of Krishna, despite their attractive feminine behavior. Although all the wives of Krishna thought that they were captivating Krishna by their feminine charms, but Krishna is the supreme controller of the senses, and therefore in Bhagavad-gita he is repeatedly addressed as Hrishikesha, the master of the senses. Steadfast, quality 23. Steadfast. He keeps on. A person who goes on working, keeps on. He doesn't stop until he's finished what he is doing. And in this regard, again referring to Krishna's loving dealings with Jambavan. And here it's stated that Krishna, he wanted to get the Syamantaka jewel from Jambavan, and the king tried to hide himself in the forest. We don't find that in Bhagavatam. But Krishna didn't become discouraged. He got the jewel eventually by continuing with great steadfastness. He continued fighting with him for 28 days. He didn't give up. Forbearing. This means, tolerance. Quality 24, forbearing. So someone who tolerates all kinds of troubles, even though the troubles appear to be unbearable, is called forbearing. And we can also learn, of course, from all these qualities, how to be steadfast in devotional service. Just keep on going. Even though it may seem very difficult, we have to keep on going. We take an example from Krishna himself. Forbearing, tolerant, even though there are very great difficulties, just tolerate it. And the example is given of Krishna when he was at the ashram of his guru, Sandipani Muni. He went into the forest to collect firewood for the Guru's ashram. Here he is, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Enjoyer, going as a young boy with a very soft and delicate body. Yeah, very soft and delicate body. He'd already fought and killed the wrestlers, whose bodies were like thunderbolts. But his body was soft and appeared to be like the delicate form of a young boy. But nevertheless, he went into the forest for collecting firewood. And at that time there was a torrential storm. But Krishna, he tolerated all of this because he was doing his service to his guru. Another example is given, that the brahmachari at the residence of the guru has to go begging door to door, and whatever he gets he has to give to the guru. And when the cooking is done, he doesn't even get any food unless the guru calls him. He doesn't say, well, I collected all of this and therefore I have a right. But that is the tradition. The guru has to call each and every disciple. He has to call each one by name. And if he forgets to call a particular disciple that day, then the disciple doesn't take. That's all. Good meditation for Janmashtami coming up. Quality 25, forgiving, who tolerates all kinds of offenses, is known to be forgiving. The example is given of Shishupal, who was so envious of Krishna that from the very beginning of his life, he was just completely inimical to Krishna. But Krishna promised to his mother that I'll tolerate 100 times. Any more than that, I won't tolerate, but 100 times. So Shishupal, he made it his business. Whenever he met Krishna, he would just insult him, deride him, mock him, call him bad names. Krishna was counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it just happened at the Rajasuya sacrifice that Shishupal got past his 100 mark. But until then, Krishna was just, okay, say whatever you like. Just forgave him. The example is given that when there is a thundering sound in the clouds, the lion responds by roaring. But he doesn't care when all the jackals howl. He doesn't even bother responding to them at all. Yamunacharya praises Krishna's quality of forgiveness by saying that this crow clawed on the breasts of Janaki, Mother Sita, but because he surrendered to you, you forgave him. Which is highly insulting to not only to Sita but to Lord Ramchandra himself, but because Indra in the form of a crow surrendered to Krishna. So the Lord excused his offense. And Yamunacharya says that Krishna is even more forgiving than Ram because Shishupal was always insulting Krishna. Actually, not even in that lifetime, but in previous lifetimes also. He was completely habituated to insult Krishna. But Krishna not only forgave him, but gave him liberation from material existence. So Krishna is very forgiving. Quality number 26. He is grave. A person who does not express his mind to everyone, or whose mental activity and plan of action are very difficult to understand, is called grave. You can't work out what he's thinking. And the example is given. Lord Brahma had offended Krishna by stealing all the cowherd boys and calves. And then Lord Brahma came. He offered so many prayers to Krishna. And Krishna was just standing there. And Brahma couldn't understand. Is he pacified or is he still dissatisfied? And actually Krishna was just thinking, when's this guy going to finish? I want to get back and play with my friends. But Brahma couldn't work it out. Krishna didn't take it very seriously. He's just Brahma, you know. Didn't take it very seriously. But Brahma couldn't work it out. Another example is that Krishna would enjoy loving affairs with Radharani, but he didn't talk about it with Baladev. And so Baladev couldn't understand what was going on in Krishna's mind and why sometimes Krishna would laugh, sometimes he would smile, sometimes he would look as distressed. And why Balaram he couldn't always understand, because it's due to Krishna thinking of his activities with Radharani. Number 27, self-satisfied. We have the verse, Atma Ramascha Muneo, who is self-satisfied. This quality of Krishna is, it's described about him, he is Atma Rama Apta Kama. He's fully satisfied in himself and all his desires are fulfilled. But nevertheless he likes to dance with the gopis. A person who is fully satisfied in himself without any hankering, na shochati na kangshati, who is not agitated even in the presence of serious cause for distress, is called self-satisfied. And an example is given that when Krishna and Arjuna and Bhima went to Magad to challenge the king, Jarasandha, they went in the form of brahmanas and they wanted to have fight with Jarasandha. And eventually Jarasandha fought with Bhima, and it was due to the strength that Krishna gave Bhima that he's so strong, and ultimately when Bhima still couldn't defeat Jarasandha, it was Krishna who gave an indication to Bhima how to kill him. But then Krishna gave all the credit to Bhima. He didn't want to take any credit for himself because he's self-satisfied. He doesn't care for praise or fame. Another example, again, Shishupal. Almost everyone in the assembly was becoming really upset with Shishupal, and some were supporting him, but Krishna wasn't moved at all. He wasn't disturbed in the slightest by being so much insulted. So there's a good lesson for all of us. This quality of self-satisfied that brings us to the next quality, possessing equilibrium, samatha. This quality of possessing equilibrium is again and again mentioned in Bhagavad-gita. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Equilibrium of mind is called yoga. And then we have pandita samadarshina, the highly learned, knowledgeable persons. They see all other living beings as equal. So certainly Krishna has this quality. A person who is unaffected by attachment and envy is said to possess equilibrium. Again, we have in the Gita, we have na shochati, na kangshati, not lamenting, not desiring, vita raga bhaya krodha, being free of the negative qualities of attachment, fear, and anger. Raga dvesho vimukta is two. One who is free from attachment and aversion. Again and again in Bhagavad-gita this comes up. And Krishna himself is the exemplar of this, and an example is given of his chastising Kaliya, the multi-headed snake. Kaliya was getting smashed and bashed and crushed and defeated, and all of his wives came before Krishna and prayed to Krishna. Yes, Krishna, we know You've come to punish all sinful, demoniac living beings. That's why you descend in this world. And here's our husband. Yes, we admit he's a greatly sinful person, and so it's quite proper that you punish him. We accept all of this, and still, he's our husband. Could you let him off? But they also said that your punishment for your enemies and your dealings with your sons are both the same. With both of them, whether you chastise someone or whether you reward them, you're simply doing for the welfare of other living beings. So in this way, Krishna is equal to all living beings. Samohang sarva bhuteshu name dveshosti na priyaha. Krishna says, I don't particularly favor anyone, nor do I particularly hate anyone. He's equal to all. In another prayer, it is said, my dear Lord Krishna, best of all the yadus, you are so impartial that even if your enemy is qualified, you will reward him, and if one of your sons is a culprit, you will chastise him. That is your business, because you are the supreme author of the universes. You have no partiality. If anyone finds partiality in your characteristics, he is surely mistaken. Hare Krishna, we'll finish there. Krishna willing, we'll continue this discussion later today. Hare Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.